Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike Nevergall. I serve as a Vice President for Advancement at North Park University in Chicago, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as the board president for the Association for Christian Fundraising. Welcome to our annual meeting for 2024. Those who attended the Faith and Fundraising Conference in earlier this year in Myrtle Beach know that we made a little bit of a change. And so I'm so delighted to have so many folks here with us today. Typically, the annual meeting has happened during our annual conference. And we talked as a board about the fact that that's really valuable real estate that we'd rather use for a top-notch keynote speaker. And for those who were at the conference this year, you know that we had absolutely top-notch rock star keynote speakers this year, and it is our intention to do that every year. So we hope that you understand the need and desire to move this meeting away from that time and to be able to gather separately here on Zoom, something that we all have learned so much more about and ability to gain in our ability to do over the last few years. So thank you for being here today with us. I would love to open us with a word of prayer, if that would be okay. Dear God, thank you so much for this fantastic group of professionals. We are grateful for the ways in which you are with us in all of our ministries and in our day-to-day work. We ask that you would bless this time together and the continued work of the Association for Christian Fundraising, that everything that we do would be for your glory and for our neighbors' good. All this in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I want to start by saying a word of thanks to Bonnie and Denny Meyer and Meyer Partners for being our annual meeting sponsor. And I'll turn it over to Bonnie and Denny to share a few words with us.
Good day. It's great to see all of you. It's our honor to be sponsors of ACF. I've been fortunate to be involved for more than 40 years as one of the charter members of ALDI, the predecessor organization. And it's been great to have a lifetime of friendship and colleagues in Christian fundraising. Brief commercial, Meyer Partners has been around 35 years. We are a direct response marketing firm based in Chicago, and we specialize in direct response, as I mentioned, direct mail and digital. And we have a number of colleagues that attend the conferences and have served on the board in the past. And as many of you know, Bonnie is currently serving on the ACF board. So glad to be a sponsor. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Denny. Thank you, Bonnie. And thank you, Meyer Partners, for being a sponsor. With that, I will officially at 12:05 call us to order for the 2024 annual meeting. And we'll share the agenda for our time together today and ask for a motion to approve that agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Terry Egan, second by Denny Meyer. Do we have a slide for the agenda, Lori, or?
We don't. It was emailed out to everyone.
Okay. Great. So that's moved and seconded. All those in favor sign or say aye.
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 That sounds unanimous to me. Let's keep on moving.
Who was the second? Terry Egan was the motion. Second was
Denny Meyer. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.
Catherine, while you're off mute, I'll ask you to review the minutes of the 2023 annual meeting, please.
yes. Are there any corrections or edits to the minutes? So I'd entertain a motion to accept them.
So moved.
Second,
Can you repeat that tell me your name?
Gary Grindeland.
and Bonnie Meyer, second.
All those in favor, sign or
Aye.
say aye.
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 Man, another unanimous one. That's great. Look at us. We're off to a good start.
And thank you,
Thank you.
Catherine, for your great work.
Thanks, Catherine. With that, I'll turn it over to John Andreasen for the treasurer's report, please.
Thank you, Mike. Happy to give a summary report here, really a nuts and bolts with no frills, and just some comments, and then invite your questions. I've taken a look at our membership separate from the conference, and I think that's something we might want to just keep an eye on. In 2019, our conference, our membership revenues were $97,520. In 2023, it's dropped to 65,405. I only look at the dollar signs here. I don't look at the membership numbers, but I would assume that that's something we want to keep an eye on, because membership organizations, I think, are having a harder time. And just to see that. So that's kind of a downhill slide, but there are so many positives that they completely outweigh what I perceive there as something we want to keep our eye on. Next, I'd like to comment on our conference attendance, just to give us a feel of where we're at. We had the COVID years, the 20 and 21, and the grants helped us during that time. In 2022, we had a Milwaukee conference, joint conference with the Catholic Network, and I believe it was around 200 participants in the conference. 2023 at Myrtle Beach brought 240 attendees. This 2024, we're up to 290 attendees. So we've seen significant growth, and that has a positive factor in turning our financial picture around. So contributing factors to profitability over the years, and I'd like to list 5 of them that I think have played a key role in bringing us financial stability and financial growth. First of all is that we've modestly, gradually, regularly increased our conference pricing. Secondly, the attendance growth has been a factor in bringing profitability to us. The third one, sponsorship revenues have been very positive. And I think kudos to our committee and leadership for putting that kind of sponsorship revenue into the picture. That's really helped us. We've moved from, I believe, around 50,000 to close to 100,000 in sponsorship revenues. The fourth factor is hotel contracting. And this is something that happens behind the scenes, but very effectively to have multi-year contract. And we've seen this pay off in relationship. Excuse me, I've been fighting a chest ailment here. In Myrtle Beach, with a multi-year contract, we've been able to achieve significant savings. And once again, we're recognizing a real boon from that one. The fifth factor, the last 2 years, ACF has filed its own 990 form. And that brings us another saving of approximately $7,000 annually. Then we saw one of the negative things that we did see. We saw a cost increase with the legal and practical work to change our name from Aldi to ACF. So John has put up a screen here with the operating budget, and we've really tried to cut back on our operating budget. So our expenses are much lower than they were previously. And we look back there at about 2018 and 19, when we had some costly conferences and our expenses were quite high. We've made some serious cuts in that and brought our expenses down significantly. So we had some losses in those early years. We had to dig deeply into our reserve fund. We have, I think, come back to a position where we are seeing much more equitable financial distribution. We're more balanced in our expenditures. So then I'd like to just let's see. I have a couple of comments here. Yeah, just to update, and maybe Lori can say a bit more of this later, but we recently received the hotel billing for 2024. As we finalize our conference expenses, and we're pleased to report that we have adequate cash on hand following the conference to pay our bill at the hotel, to meet our monthly expenses for the next couple of months to the end of our fiscal year without dipping into our reserve funds. So a very positive financial position there. Then I'd like to take just a brief look at our reserve fund. And John, I believe you have a screen on the designated reserve fund. And what we notice here is that we did have, because of a downturn in the market at the end of 2022, we saw a dip. We also had to dig in and took a $30,000 withdrawal from our designated reserve fund. We've been able to see it grow a bit now, about 15,000 or so. And we have not had to dig into our reserves for the past year, 2022, 23. And we don't anticipate that we have to dig into it. We know we don't have to dig into it for this year. So that's positive. Our investment ratio there is about 37% in stocks and 62%, 63% in fixed income. If we turn then to our endowment fund, we see some nice growth in the endowment fund. Because of that downturn in the market, we did take a dip in our funding. And we also made a distribution of $21,000 from our endowment fund, but we have seen significant growth since the end of 2023, and we are since the end of 2022. 2023 was a good year for us, and we continue now extending that into 2024. So we are almost, excuse me, almost back to our peak where we were at the first of the year of 2022. So happy to give that kind of a report. It's a positive report for our organization, and there are many people to thank for that, and certainly the committees and the work that's been done by our leadership team are very grateful to have that kind of stability in place. So thank you for the opportunity to serve as your treasurer.
Thank you, John. There was one question that came in the chat from Denny Meyer, and that was regarding the chart for membership revenue comparison, current year versus what previous year?
2019 was the year that I used, and that's as far back as my data goes. I'm sure the organization has data that if we want to track that, we could get much more detail on that. But in the past 5 years, we dropped from 97,000 to 65,000 in conference or in membership revenues.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
Well, John, I speak only for myself when I say that I'm disappointed we didn't get a singing report this year from you, but it sounds like with your chest cold, that probably wasn't possible, but thank you for a robust report all the same.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
So moved.
Roger Dow, is there a second?
Second, Bonnie.
Bonnie Meyer is chewing up all the seconds in this meeting. Any conversation? If not, all those in favor sign or say aye.
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 That is accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
We will move to the executive director's report. Lori Brill, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mike. So I decided to think about and focus on a 5 years in review type of report because I do think there are some things that we need to go back and think about that have happened a few years ago. So that's the approach that I'm going to take today. And it's really hard for me to believe that I began in this role in January of 2019. So I'm right at about the 5.5 year mark. And interestingly, and I think this says a lot about the association, I'm only the third executive director. So in a 46-year history, that seems to be pretty significant to me. Members were very gracious and welcomed me into the fold. My first conference was in Dallas. It was at the Grapevine Gaylord. And I was an outsider. I will share that. I was not an insider. But it was then at that conference that I realized and I understood that I understood more about our members' capacity to be welcoming. That's important as we're shifting in a different direction. The name change from Aldi to ACF, which occurred in February of 23, represented a really unique opportunity to welcome a broader community for those serving in the fundraising arena. I worked with our Lutheran colleges and universities for 25 years. There are several of you on the call who also did the same for a length of time. And I reflect on that experience and realize that the Lutheran colleges welcomed students from all expressions of Christianity. And that, in fact, strengthened the community. And so I think in many ways, as we look at what is happening with our association, there are some comparatives there. And ultimately, we can be stronger together. I've always believed it's wise to reflect upon where you've been so that you have a better understanding to know where you desire to go. The board convened in Las Vegas just before the 2020 conference. It seems like forever ago. In November of 2019, we launched a plan to focus on common ground statements and defining statements that would encompass the overall priority, which was excellence and Christian philanthropy. And those 4 areas we focused on were educational excellence, communication of our identity, financial stability, and expanding the network of Christian fundraisers. We've made adjustments in our schedule to accommodate more keynote speakers, offer master classes at no charge, present breakout sessions that have depth and breadth that we've been hoping for and hoping to achieve and will continue to work on. There are some members of the curriculum team on the call today, so just think that it's important that we remind ourselves of how much progress we have made in shifting things up a bit on that front. We are getting ready to embark upon our 3rd conference in Myrtle Beach, and I realize that that is not traditional. Yet the contract offer to return, as was mentioned earlier by John, was really too good to pass up. And selecting conference site locations is complex, it's tricky. There are many factors to consider. And as our membership and our conference attendance continues to grow, I do feel as though we will have more options to consider at that time. The other piece that influenced that decision is John keeps a careful tracking over the last 20 years of conference evaluations that have come in. We have had the last 2 years, 2023 and 2024, came in at 4.38 and 4.37. They literally were that close those 2 years. And we were just really pleased with the evaluations that we got back and felt as though this was the best option for the association for this year. One of our WISE members, and we have a lot of WISE members, but one of our WISE members had words of advice to give me when I was grappling with all the change and the feedback from the members. He said, Laurie, when introducing change, you will begin to hear a very common 7-word phrase. And I said, what is that? And he said, it is, we've never done it that way before. So he said, get used to it and develop a thick skin and just continue to do what you feel like is best for the association. So I have taken his advice. Since February of 23, we have welcomed 150 new members, which I would have to go back and look at all of the detail to see how that compares. But I think that's clear evidence that ACF is continuing to evolve, and that change takes courage. Your board has taken risks and leaps of faith that I think now have proven to be wise. The board has been meeting monthly ever since COVID hit, and just recently we shifted back to the quarterly schedule. So that has been a commitment beyond measure of their time, of their talents, and I'm very grateful for that. Financially, as John shared, we had to right the ship by exploring ways to increase revenue and trim expenses. I feel like we have pulled the boat out of the harbor and we're making some significant progress in preserving the designated reserves, responsibly tracking the endowment, and taking only that we have to take to make sure that the budget is responsibly balanced, and also just only tapping what we need. I lift up the work of the committees for their commitment, for their energy, and for their focus. We have an amazing group of volunteers, and they really are the backbone of this association. I don't know that I realized that when I took the position, but it didn't take me long to figure it out. So thank you for all that you have done and continue to do. Volunteering is a beautiful expression of generosity. And so please consider signing up to engage with one of our committees. When I reach out to you and ask for your assistance, I hope you will say yes. Hospitality is an important component of the conference. Between the early arrival reception, the gatherings in the suites, the worship on the pool deck, the networking, the partnership opportunities, the walk on the beach, the time in the exhibit area, all of those pieces are critically important to the overall experience. And we have had amazing volunteers working really hard to make certain that everyone feels welcome. The attendee from the 23 and 24 conferences revealed that great feedback. And again, that is the reason we're going back. And we will continue to work for and look for other alternatives as the years go on. I'd like to thank Bonnie Meyer and Brian Gavin. Brian could not be with us today, but they worked really hard on a welcome statement for ACF. And I'd like to just share that briefly. It is on our website, but I think that the words are very poignant and very important. So the Association for Christian Fundraising seeks to fully reflect the body of Christ as our members pursue their respective vocations in serving God's church and God's world. Together, we explore and share best practices in the fields of fundraising and nonprofit leadership through the lens of a Christian perspective. We offer excellent educational opportunities and a network of caring colleagues. We strive to strengthen, encourage, and welcome all dedicated professionals. ACF was formerly known as ALDE, the Association of Lutheran Development Executives, but we changed our identity in 22-23 to better welcome professionals from all expressions of Christianity. Learn with us, engage with us, share your challenges, share your joys. For just as the body is one and has many members, and all the members of the body, though many, are one body, so it is with Christ. 1 Corinthians 12:12. You have found a place where you belong. So as we look at and explore and think about how do we continue to be welcoming, how can we encourage our members to invite others to attend the conference and all of the other activities, the webinar events and other things that we are working on and doing. We just hope that we'll have your support in that. Thank you so much for your confidence in ACF's leadership. Again, they work very hard. And I feel like we are in a strong position to thrive. And with that, the only other thing that I'd like to throw out there is to recognize John Nelson, who does amazing work for ACF and has a long history with this association. So thank you, John.
Thank you, Lori, for your report. Thank you for your leadership. And I'll add my thanks as well for John Nelson and Tom Guinness for the support that they provide. The executive director's report does not require a motion to accept. So we will move to our next point, which is election of ACF board members. And for that, I will turn it over to Jerry Pat Gabbard.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to affirm our existing board members for second terms. I'll make a motion to approve Bonnie Meyer, Mike Nevergall in the president role, and Christine Safaranek as existing board members that stand for second terms. So
okay, sorry.
Do I need a second? I think
I've got a webinar with the Association of Christian Fundraising.
Can we mute Jim,
coming
please?
up.
Thank you.
So the motion is on the floor for existing board members for second terms: Bonnie Meyer, Mike Nevergall, and Christine Safaranek.
Second. So I think I'm gonna play amateur parliamentarian here and say that this actually is already moved and seconded by the board of directors, and so only requires a vote from the membership and not a motion or a second.
I unsecond it.
Unsecond that, Gary Grinneland. So then in that case, all those in favor sign or say aye.
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 Mike, I think we're good on that piece. Yes?
Yep, that carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And then now I'll move to the election of new board members. We have a slate to present. 3 individuals. That includes Matthew Leidy, who serves as the executive director of Worship Anew in Fort Wayne, Indiana. A second candidate in Jamie Lennon, who is the manager of congressional engagement with Lutheran World Relief, residing in South Dakota. And Heidi Rixman, the Chief Development Officer for Lutheran Social Services Carolinas, residing in North Carolina. At this time, I'd like to call for any additional nominations from the floor. Hearing none, I will close that opportunity and move to vote on the slate as presented. That would be Matthew Leidy, Jamie Lennon, and Heidi Rixman to stand for election for 1 3-year term as board members.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry Pat. All those in favor sign or say aye.
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 That is approved. Congratulations to Matthew, Jamie, and Heidi, and thank you for your willingness to join the board. Just a couple of notes related to elections, because this is still a somewhat new process for us as ACF per the bylaws, the new bylaws that we adopted at last year's annual meeting. So first, just to note that our fiscal year as an association is July 1 to June 30. So new board members' roles on the board will become effective July 1. And the second is that we no longer elect officers to the board directly by the membership, but instead elect members to the board, and then the board elects its own officers. So this is a change from how it had been in previous years, but brings us more in alignment with industry best practice and what probably many of us understand from our own organizations and institutions. Thank you, Jerry Pat. With that, we'll move into some closing remarks here. And the probably first and foremost among them is to remind you all, as I just mentioned about our fiscal year, to please make a gift to the ACF Annual Fund. Our goal for this year for the annual fund is to raise $30,000. As of coming into this conversation, we have just over $17,000 raised. That does include some folks who are giving monthly or in some other recurring way, and we're grateful for that. But I would invite you to make a gift to the ACF Annual Fund if you've not already done so. Many of us have the benefit of serving organizations and institutions that that pay our way, both for our membership dues, to participate in the association, as well as to attend the conference and learn from one another to benefit from this great network and to become enriched in our careers. I'm really excited by the fact that we have 3 new people joining the board, all of whom have achieved the CFRE designation. And not that that's at all a requirement to work in this industry, but because ACF is a CFRE partner organization and educational provider, I think it's a sign of the strength of our curriculum at our conference and throughout the year with our webinars that we have membership who are taking advantage of that. And that's just part of what is made possible by your giving to the association. So I'd ask you to think about the impact that ACF has had on your life, your career, the network connections that you've made, the career transitions perhaps that have been possible because of that, and to give a gift in celebration of that impact to the extent that you are capable of doing so. John has put a very convenient QR code on the screen for us there. So I'd ask you to do what you do there with the QR code and make a gift today. And thank you. And then finally, it is my great honor as the president to award the President's Award, which is commonly given to ACF members who have gone above and beyond in service to the association and given of themselves for the betterment of all of us. And sometimes we give away 1, sometimes we give away 2. There's no rules here. There's no rules. So we're going to give away 2 President's Awards this year. And they're going to go to 2 people whose names have already come up a couple of times in this meeting because they are 2 people who have made an incredible impact on this association, not just this year, but over the last several years. And so the first of those is Jamie Lennon. Jamie has been leading our sponsorships committee, and we heard earlier from both John and Lori about the impact that the sponsorships committee has had in growing revenue and participation in the annual conference, bringing new vendors to visit with us and be a part of our organization. And Jamie has been the steady hand leading that. And I'll note that Jamie hasn't been able to attend the last couple of years conference because of his commitments to finishing his seminary degree. And so he's raising money for conferences that he won't even see the fruits of his labor. So Jamie, a big word of thanks to you for your commitment there. And then the other is to, oh, Lori's got your award right there. Look at that.
Here. Thank you.
The other President's Award this year goes to Heidi Rixman for her service in leadership of the Hospitality Committee and organizing local volunteers in the Carolinas to help host and give thanks to all of our members. Make sure that they get where they're going. We don't need people, you know, tumbling off of the boardwalk on that path from the hotel to the brewery. Like that's not going to do anybody any good. And Heidi makes sure that that pathway is well lined and well marked, and that we have greeters all along the way. So thank you for organizing such fantastic hospitality for our conferences the last couple of years in South Carolina. With that, and knowing of no other business before the association for this year, I will call us adjourned. Thank you all so much for your participation today, for your continued participation in ACF, and don't forget to make your annual fund gift before June 30th. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Mike. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.